Cars is one of my favorite Disney franchises of all time. It's pretty straightforward though, just some cars racing. If we don't talk about Cars 2, where it was about espionage and some spy stuff going on. However, what if there was a deeper meaning than all of that, than Cars 1 and Cars 2? Today we're reacting to the Cars conspiracy theory. Let's check it out. Before we jump in, I would say my biggest Cars conspiracy theory, I haven't seen anything about this by the way, but my biggest Cars conspiracy theory is that the CIA had something to do with Cars 2. Because you're not telling me we went from racing to espionage, spy stuff, and a bunch of just crazy. Oh, by the way, treason, that was one. False advertising, destroying competitors just to make things go back to the old system. That is a bunch of wild stuff. And then we get racing in the third one. Right? That had to be CIA propaganda or something, dude. I don't know. Alright, let's jump in.
Believe that?
Well, you should. He was there too.
Huh? Yeah, Mater's Tall Tales was a trip, bro. Because that's what those were from. There, he was always like, "You were there too. You were there too." I'm like, bro, there's something going on here.
So, Cars is a weird franchise. The world in the Cars movies is like ours, except for the small detail that everything is cars instead of humans.
Yeah, when you really deep the implications, I have really deep the implications, and it will break you. It will genuinely break you. Like, how do things happen? How do they form? And are they just boring? So this is my biggest thing about Cars, is you know how people say, oh, you can be anything you want. In Cars? Sorry, kid. No, you cannot be. If you're born a primo race car like Lightning McQueen, and then you're born like a tow truck like Mater, you're gonna be a tow truck. Or you're gonna be a rich race car. Like, there is no fairness in the Cars world. You're either born great or you're born trash. Not gonna lie.
Which is a very weird premise for a movie franchise, and it only gets weirder the more you think about it. Here are just a few things that everyone always loves to bring up. In Cars 2, we see a car pope riding in a sentient pope-mobile.
There was a car pope? I didn't know about that. I must have not been paying attention. Cars 2 genuinely screwed up everything, not gonna lie. Right, I like Cars 2. Do not get me wrong. All haters on Cars 2 feels pretty forced, not gonna lie. But they genuinely screwed up everything I thought about the Cars franchise. And it changed a lot of things for the whole franchise in general.
So Catholicism exists in this universe,
Okay.
which implies there was a Jesus Chrysler who died for our car sins. There is a Cars
Jesus Christ, is crazy. Yeah, that is kind of insane, not gonna lie.
TSA, which implies Cars 9/11 probably happened. There
Bro, that is so true. But in all fairness, right, it had to be possible because we had the one guy that was like heating up the one cars to explode them, right? So who's to say that there's not a similar like gun or whatever to kind of make a car go crazy, and for a Cars 9/11 to kind of happen?
is a World War II Army veteran car, so this universe also probably had Car Hitler and every other historical figure.
That's a big jump, but I would say there is a lot going on there. But I feel like it has to be a little bit different, no?
And tragedy. Now, there has already
Wait.
been
Are we not going to acknowledge the fact that the JFK airport implies that a certain event... Yo. Bro, that's crazy! Nah.
endless discussion about these movies, and the question that everyone loves to ask the most is, what exactly are cars? Because how can cars exist without humans?
Well, this is my theory about it, right? I love these type of videos because they make me think, and they really just they're just a lot of fun. And this is my biggest theory about cars in general, is it's essentially like, you know how we could have had a creator or something like that. It's kind of like that, but cars. And whatever theory you talk about, like maybe there's a car thing here, a car, like maybe there's a car evolution, maybe there's a car, a Chrysler that died for their sins. But I would say there is something similar to that type of creation with cars, but instead of cars, instead of people, cars, but then metal. I don't know. Okay, it's stupid. Or maybe people just evolved into cars or something.
Everything about the way
Right,
they
with AI, it's definitely possible, dudes. It is definitely possible. Right, and with AI going how it is, and all these world powers and tech CEOs that rule our world, they want to push us into AI. They want to make the whole world AI. So who's to say the Cars universe, it just isn't us in 100 years?
book has clearly been specifically designed by and for humans. I mean, what purpose
Knowing Elon Musk, he's still going to charge like $100 premium. He has for all of his apps. For a guy so rich, have you noticed, right? Everything he has charged is insane amount. From what I understand, Grok is like one of the most expensive AIs. X, to get like their check mark, it's like $20 a month. And not including, right, even with Tesla, the self-driving mode you see, I think that costs like $100 a month. If bro's so rich, why does he need so much money? Maybe just like greed, but I don't even think it's greed, because at what point is greed just kind of boring?
do these tiny little door handles have in sentient car world? So, because
Yes, I've always asked that question. Why are there door handles?
of this, a lot of people like
Bro, if you open a car, does everything just spill out? I hope not.
to believe that Cars takes place in some kind of post-apocalypse after all the humans died out. Maybe there was an AI smart car uprising, or maybe somehow the humans became their cars, or whatever. And for years, people
I kind of like that theory, right? I kind of always assumed that the AI somehow fused with cars and people, and that's how we got the cars. That's what I'm going with right now.
debated this, and no one can agree on what the cars actually are.
You know what's
Now,
crazy? There's so many videos about this, but yet, like, the Toy Story ones, like, Toy Story theories, I just don't see them as much. How do these toys talk? Nobody really questions that.
Not even the creators, who all have conflicting things to say about this franchise. But I think the answer is actually pretty obvious. Everything is Cars. And when I say everything, I mean
Well, yeah, that's what I assumed. Everything just is cars.
everything.
Wait,
the
what?
animals in this universe are cars. The plants are cars. Literally, the mountains and clouds are car or
Bro, why is this kind of creeping me out? Because now that I deep it, he's kind of right. Like, the cows were cars, the flies are cars. Like, what's going on here?
vehicle shaped. This is not a world where just humans were replaced by cars. This is a world where everything, even the physical world itself, is car shaped.
Bro, why does that sketch me out so much? Why is that genuinely freaking me out?
See a periodic table for just a few seconds in the background of Cars 2 that's been renamed to the automotive table of elements. And it's unfortunate.
The automotive element. Okay. There's something real sketchy going on.
Too small and blurry to read, but
Because, okay, this changes my theory, by the way. Right now I'm thinking there was like a creator or like some sort of power that saw cars, saw humans, thought there were flaws in humans, so fused it all together and made the Cars world.
there is a full-size version of this poster in Disney California's Cars-themed area that seems to show us that even the elements themselves have been renamed to car puns. And I like to think that this implies that even on an atomic level, the elements themselves that make up this universe are also car-shaped. So no,
I do think it's deeper than that, though. I'm not gonna lie. I think that it is, because look how well modeled it is off of the human world. I think it is something, some creator, some overpower that changed basic reality itself to get Cars to have the exact same experience, to have all the things we have in this world, but in car form.
I do not believe that humans ever existed in this world. This is just an alternate reality where things are car-shaped. And I think there are two possible explanations as to why. You can either take a carvolutionist perspective and assume this is a universe where the car shape just happens to be the most efficient shape for survival and entropy, kind of like how we can see.
I don't like that theory, right? Because what came before cars? Everyone can explain like how things came up, but then what was there before cars? If you got ball knowledge, you know what I'm talking about.
The golden ratio
if you don't,
spiral
you just,
everywhere in our world, or like how different animals can independently evolve into crabs because the crab shape is just so badass. Or we can take a carrationism.
Okay, right? The crab shape is kind of what we need. Okay? Think about it. You get defense and offense, right? You have the shell for defense. Okay, not the type of crab on like One Punch Man, where that giant crab man that Saitama fought to become a hero. That would be terrifying. But a crab world doesn't sound terrible.
Perspective, and assume there is an all-powerful car god out there that has shaped and renamed the world into his image.
That's what I'm assuming. That's what I think happened.
We do know there is religion in this world, and there has been mentions of a manufacturer in place of the word God.
There's the manufacturer! You're alive!
So,
Okay, so there's definitely some sort of religion. Is the manufacturer the main religion, though? Like, is the Pope, like, the speaker for the manufacturer? I don't know. I don't know much about the Catholic Church. But, in the car world, right, okay, that's confusing me now. Because there could be two different gods, in all fairness, in the Cars world. So, like, maybe the Catholic version isn't believing in the manufacturer. Maybe they believe in something else.
Maybe Car God did it. So that is my Alex Bale take on all of these Cars theories. I am sorry if that's not as fun or dark and edgy as a post-apocalyptic human theory, but I think it's undeniably what the actual movies themselves support. Now that basically covers all the stuff that everyone loves talking about with the Cars movies, but the real reason I'm making this video...
Okay, bro, but bro did not explain why the door handles are there. The evolutioning does not make any sense. Because why would they evolve for their things to just pour out, right? You go pull on a door handle, it's cooked. And we know they could grab things. We've seen it with their tires and things. So what if someone accidentally nudges? And maybe you got one of those type of cars that you don't even need to pull the door handle. You just need to kick under. And then boom, things bad.
Is because there's still something that most Cars theories never talk about. Something that most theorists just pretend doesn't exist because it makes the weird and convoluted Cars franchise look tame in comparison. Yes, that is correct. This is no longer a Cars theory video. This is a theory about Mater's tall tales.
Okay, yeah, there could be a million theories about that. I'm gonna be honest, Mater's tall tales kind of creeped me out as a kid. The UFO one shook me to my core. That's probably what ruined me on horror movies, not gonna lie. Because it was just kind of spooky.
If I'm lying, I'm crying.
So, Cars is a weird franchise, but the weirdness is kind of contained to the fact that they are sentient.
Okay, by the way, right, I know we're talking about Cars here, but who loved this look on Lightning McQueen? And why do they not keep it? The white wall tires are so goated. And why don't we have white wall tires today?
Other than that, they're just kind of normal people
do.
doing normal things. Except for when it comes to Mater.
My name's Mater.
Mater?
Yeah, like...
Yeah, right? I would say, you know what's something kind of weird? Is Cars 2 felt like Mater's Tall Tales, right? When you really deep it, that could have genuinely been a Mater's Tall Tale episode. Because he goes into this space world while his Lightning McQueen's just living his average everyday life. And he kept claiming, oh, Well, you were there, you saw me. That's a bit strange, no?
Tuh, Mater, but without the tuh.
Mater is Lightning McQueen's best friend, and he's kind of a dumb, lovable tow truck who was born in Radiator Springs. Or I guess maybe in a mansion. They kind of retconned it in the new Disney Plus show. And he's just a pretty normal, simple guy.
There's a new Disney Plus show. I gotta check it out to get the really down to the bottom of it. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a terrible conspiracy theorist. I don't know how people like Matt Pat and like game theorists and all those guys like do it so well. I'm gonna be honest, like theories in general, I would say a lot of them are just created by the fans and the creator will sometimes implement them. For example, I bet Five Nights at Freddy's, I really do truly believe this, did not have that deep of lore. It was probably going to get all settled in like the second or third game. But when you saw theorists like Matt Pat and all that jazz taking it so deep, Scott Cawthon changed his whole story. That's why it's kind of so many different places these days. Because it had a linear story, especially if you look at Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was pretty self-explanatory. It was actually based off of like a real thing that happened, if I remember right. And then it just kept getting changed and changed and changed. And I really do believe that the theories, there was definitely something going on, like with like the remnants and all that jazz. Don't get me wrong. But I think all the theorists got to the maker, Scott Cawthon, the maker of Five Nights at Freddy's. He started trying to implement it, and it really did change the story so much, he can't really put a pinpoint on it. Because if you keep adding to it, especially if you decide like a smaller story, because even if he never thought his games were going to get huge. Especially after like Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and 3, they were essentially like still smaller, lower adaptation games. Like very self-explanatory. So there's very little bits of lore that I really do think his story just kept getting messed up by the fans. That it's what we got today. So fans kind of do ruin franchises sometimes. And a long story short, in my tangent, by the way.
He won 3 piston cups.
He did what in his cup?
Except for the fact that he keeps
I've always loved that joke, not gonna lie. No, that was a good one.
accidentally ending up in weird, impossible situations. Like how in Cars 2, he accidentally became an international spy for the entire movie.
Agent. You mean like insurance agent? Like a good neighbor, Mater is there.
And then
Okay, they got State Farm. That just proved that. They have State Farm for a fact. So they got insurance agencies. Wait. How does Cars insurance even work? Bro, that's another rabbit hole we need to go
by the
down.
Queen.
Sato Mater.
And if you thought Cars 2 was a weird departure for the Cars franchise, well then prepare yourself for the insanity that is Mater's Tall Tales.
I used to be a fire truck.
What?
Daggum right.
Someone call Rescue Squad Vader!
These were a series of shorts that featured Mater telling Lightning McQueen different convoluted
And I have heard this before. Mater's Tall Tales is canon because there are posters about it in Cars 3.
stories from his life, like the time he became a fire truck, or a wrestler, or an astronaut, or when he met aliens, or literally time traveled.
Later, Mater. Later, Mater.
And obviously, you'd assume that
Oh, I do remember the detective episode. The detective episode was goated, not gonna lie.
these are all just made-up stories because they're called tall tales, but at the end of every episode, they're always proven to be true.
That did not happen. Houston has another problem. Roger. That did not happen.
Mater, there's no such thing as time travel.
Oh, by the way, I never did get a chance to thank you for introducing me.
Yeah, Mater, I think Mater definitely... Okay, either he's manipulated by something, or he knows what's going on. But there's something about Mater that is definitely... See, he's the root of all these problems. And it's always like McQueen's getting drug along, but he never remembers it, doesn't really know what's going on, and never believes Mater. So McQueen has nothing to do with it. But Mater is definitely in a bigger part to play.
and Stanley.
And that's how you make history.
Okay, but maybe these are just weird, non-canon shorts. They aren't necessarily connected to the main Cars movies that we care about, right? Well,
You ever play the Cars video games? They're some of the most disappointing video games of all time. It could have been such a good racing game. Especially if they set it up kind of like a NASCAR game, but you work your way up or whatever. But it's you're just racing characters in the movies. That's very trash. They could have made it so much better. All Disney games kind of flopped though, except that Mickey Inc. one. That was tough.
in Cars 3, we can see a poster that proves that Monster Truck Mater did actually happen. The creators had a chance to distance themselves from Mater's tall tales and instead decided to double down and make them officially canon. But the most confusing thing that happens in all of these shorts is halfway through every episode when Lightning McQueen questions the stories.
Jumping carburetor can?
Bro, why am I getting freaked out? I'm literally getting goosebumps right now. My room is dark, obviously, and it's kind of freaking me out.
No way.
Guess what? You remember. You was there too.
What?
Ready, buddy?
You really expect me to believe that?
Well, you should.
Bro has amnesia. Because he was there in all of those. Because he's always like, you were there, you were there.
Good. You was there too.
Mater reveals that Lightning was also in all of these stories, despite him having no memory of being there.
Well, don't you remember? You was there too.
What?
But remember, we know these stories are true, so why doesn't McQueen remember? Well, there is a funny theory that Lightning McQueen might have dementia from all of his...
Yeah, that could be very possible. Bro could have CTE. He's crashed a couple times, probably. Like, of course, we saw his big ones, but let's be honest, you're a race car. You're always going to crash. Things are going to go wrong. So, even if you get a couple of scrapes, you're probably getting CTE. Oh, this is one of my favorite memes, by the way.
many accidents.
You know what I never understood about, like, how McQueen got out of the car? Is, like, how did Mac not notice? Because, of course, it's your body, right? It is kind of connected to him in a sense. So it's like having a backpack. If someone takes something out of your backpack, you're gonna notice. Or even if you're carrying something, like, I don't know, if you've ever done sports, you've probably done those things where you're running with, like, plates behind you. And when, on a sled, and when they take a plate off on those sleds, it gets 1,000 times easier. How did Mac not notice?
And that does feel like the easiest explanation, but there's one small detail that contradicts it. In Moon Mater, Mater becomes an astronaut and goes to the moon.
Houston, I have a problem.
He needs a tow.
Where on earth are we gonna get a tow?
Well, that guy's got a tow.
And later, we of course reveal that Lightning McQueen was there too.
No way.
Yes, way. But that was nothing compared to you.
Yeah, right. Even if you have CTE or dementia, you're going to remember something like that. That's for sure. In my opinion, yeah, you're definitely remembering that.
But there's a very strange detail at the start of this episode that doesn't quite make sense. Before Mater gets his astronaut suit, why is he blue? Now, this isn't the first time we've seen Blue Mater. In Cars 1, there was a brief flashback that showed radiator springs
Yeah. Mater, before he was rusted, was blue.
in its prime, and we could see that back then, Mater was a clean blue tow truck.
Long ago.
So, this Moon Mater story must have taken place around that time. But this doesn't...
But then McQueen wouldn't have been there. That's for sure.
It makes sense because Lightning McQueen only met Mater after he was covered in years worth of dirt and old dents.
Morning, Sleeping Beauty. I was wondering.
Yeah, and like he's only known McQueen for what, 8-9 years maybe? Because his racing career wasn't actually all that long from what we know about it. So how did they spend so much time together in Radiator Springs and doing all these adventures?
Gonna wake up.
He never knew Mater when he was blue, so how could he have possibly been in this story? So even if Lightning forgot, the timeline still doesn't make sense. And it's not like they even needed to make Mater blue in this short. The creators put in extra effort here just to make their story make less sense, but why? And it's not even just Lightning that doesn't remember this. In Cars 1, Mater says this about a road Lightning made.
It's like it was paved by angels.
Oh, I tell you what, I bet even the roads on the moon ain't this.
Bro, that's crazy because he went to the moon. And so if there's so much going on with Mater, right? Especially if you're powerful. I've always thought about this. This is like one of my non-canon beliefs. I mean, one of my like self-canon, what do they call that? Is like your own canon. Is my personal canon in One Piece is Buggy is like the original creator of that world, and that's why he's still that's why he's still just keep going higher and higher, but he can't show his true power level because everyone would be terrified. So think about it. That's the only explanation why Buggy, some guy who is genuinely one of the weakest pirates of all time, is an emperor, is as big as he is the leader of two big players like Crocodile and Mihawk. And maybe it's kind of similar with Mater. Maybe he's bored, maybe he has so much power, so he plays the fool.
I bet even the roads on the moon ain't this smooth. But wait, at this point, hasn't Mater already been to the moon? Isn't I bet kind of a weird thing to say if Mater should know?
Not really, because for example, when I've been somewhere and I haven't been there for so long, I'm like, oh, I bet those places are wild or something like that, or that place is crazy or was crazy or whatever. But you know what I mean? You're gonna kind of be unsure, especially if you haven't been there in so long.
Know for a fact whether or not the moon is this smooth? It seems like even Mater himself had no memory of this story. A story that is proven to be true at the end of the episode.
That did not happen. Vader! Houston has another problem. Roger.
So, how does any of this make sense? It's almost like these stories only become true after Mater tells them, which kind of implies that
Bro, that really could be true. Especially if he's like writing the story. Okay, so if he has those powers he's unaware of, especially like, you ever hear that conspiracy theory that God could be people just like there, but he's so bored that he doesn't know he put himself like in a regular body or whatever? Right? I don't like that conspiracy theory. But what if there's similar things going on with Mater?
look at the way Lightning reacts when we reveal he's also in the stories.
Well, don't you remember?
Yeah, he always freaks out, right? That's definitely weird because it's like he gets pulled into it. It's like, oh, don't you remember you were there too? And Lightning McQueen appears. Yo.
You was there too?
What?
You was there too?
What?
That was
Yeah, because he was there, and yet he's reacting why he was there.
compared to you.
It's not like he'd been there the whole time, it's more like he was literally plucked from time and space and teleported into this story at this exact moment, just because Mater said the words, "You was there too."
You was there too?
And then there's also the fact that even though these stories presumably take place many years ago in many different places, every single time, as soon as Mater finishes telling them, something from the story coincidentally appears right next to them.
Did so?
Did not.
Hello, Doctor.
Yeah, it could be. Right? Okay, hear me out. Mater is a trickster from Supernatural, right? He's got everything going on, like what tricksters do.
That did not happen.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Come on, Mason! Everybody conga!
Again, it's like the mere act of
Yeah, it pulls up right when he needs it to. And, right, maybe Mater actually is aware of this. I think this conspiracy is going as like he's self-actualizing and doesn't know it. But I wonder if he is playing the fool just for fun.
Mater telling the story is what causes it to happen, which implies that somehow Tow Mater, the simple Radiator Springs tow truck, has the god-level ability to change reality.
Well, if you were a god, right? Like, genuinely, if you were a god, and you wanted to mess with people, like you wanted to mess with your subjects or whatever, the best way to do it is to put yourself as just a regular person. Just saying.
Just by speaking.
Especially someone super unaware.
Storm's on its way.
No way. Look at the sky.
Did you see that? That was on Cars on the Road, so he's still doing it.
Listen, I know this idea sounds really...
I feel bad for McQueen, right? He's getting messed with because of this probably insane tow truck that is just messing with this race car he liked, right? Mater probably wasn't in the story. He might have written it. Okay, right, hear me out. This is my theory, is Mater is the creator. He is the manufacturer. And he gained a liking to McQueen. So he started to put himself in the story.
Stupid and crazy. But if we look back through the entire Cars franchise with this in mind, suddenly, a lot of the weird inconsistencies in this dumb franchise start to make a lot more sense. Let's start with something small, like Mater's birthplace changing. Originally, we were shown that he was born in Radiator Springs.
You've never been outside Radiator Springs, have you?
Nope. But in the new Disney Plus show, Cars on the Road, we are told that he was instead born in a rich family and grew up in a mansion on the east side of America.
You grew up here?
Yep.
But let's go back and take a look at the first time everyone in Radiator Springs learned about this.
I'd say Mater's been holding out on
Mater is a complicated guy.
Mamma mia, Mater has a sister?
Boggles the mind, man.
No, non ci posso credere.
Mater clearly just told them the story about his family and where he grew up. A story that nobody knew about before.
Wait a minute. You have a sister?
But now is suddenly proven true.
You grew up here?
Yep.
Just like Mater's tall tales.
Okay, right, so he starts to tell people about the sister, and suddenly a whole backstory's added. And you know what's interesting, right? The writers of the story, they could have easily made where he has a rich sister or a rich family, but he never connected with them. He grew up in Radiator Springs for some reason. And that would have been the easy way out, but they decided to construct it in a way that retcons the story and almost doesn't make any sense. That's so strange. When you could have probably had the exact same story if you would have just done the way I said.
I think this continuity error was caused by Mater's reality warping powers.
He was there too.
In the first Cars movie,
I really think, though, he's doing it on purpose. I do not believe he's just doing it on accident.
we can see a photo of Conehenge, which is the Cars World's version of Stonehenge. But later, in Cars on the Road, we see it's now been changed to Carhenge.
The sign said, don't touch!
So, why is this structure so inconsistent? Well, why did McQueen and Mater go to Carhenge in the first place?
Look, you picked the last 3 stops. Carhenge.
Anyway.
Because it was Mater's idea.
You picked the last 3 stops.
He probably previously told Lightning about Carhenge, which caused it to change. Okay, but these are just little inconsistencies. What about something big? How about the fact that the Cars franchise, a pretty simple series about cars...
Yeah, it did a U-turn, right? Again, this applies to my theory. This is why I love, like, learning and thinking about these things. Because I love taking things... I love just over-analyzing so much stuff, right? And when you think about it, Mater, he decided to write himself into Cars 2. And then he saw that the ratings were bad. No, I'm kidding. he saw how much pressure that put on his boy Lightning. And he saw how Lightning was going through this existential crisis and whatever, and that he was just obsessed with racing and not really growing as a person. So he decided to create a whole new type of car, and that is Jackson Storm and all of those, to basically make Lightning add to his life and be himself. Like, because what really was the best thing for Doc, or because, you know, like, Lightning was very one-dimensional. He just liked racing, and he didn't have any character growth. And if you're Mater, you would start to see this, especially as the creator. So what he probably did was writing Cars 3 in a way of manipulating Lightning into becoming a teacher and having personal growth, like what he saw it did for Doc, by using Jackson Storm and, I'm forgetting her name, but the yellow car.
Racing each other, suddenly decided to make
Cruz.
an entire movie about the funny side character becoming an international spy.
Mater, we've got to get that bomb off you.
Bomb? You! Why didn't my death ray kill you?
Death Ray! Doesn't that sound more like the plot of a Mater's Tall Tale? Well, actually, take a look at what happens at the end of the movie when we cut back to Radiator Springs.
Yes! Oh no, my gosh. She flies in front of everyone when they didn't believe it.
So there we was, guns drawn. We was gone.
I think it's one of those things where you're showing your power, but, like, basically playing the fool, so nobody's gonna suspect. So even if they believe it's true, they're not gonna really suspect why or how it happened. So he's just showing little tidbits and little signs because he's playing with them.
But then,
This made me think of, right, Mater might be
car.
a sick man, or like sick person, or a god, or whatever he is, because there's something sketchy though.
Swoopsing from the sky to save you.
That's a very entertaining story, young man.
Oh, Minnie, please, come on. None of this happened.
No, you're quite right. It does sound a bit far-fetched.
This is Holly Shiftwell.
I'm Mater's girlfriend.
Cars 2.
And you know what the fact is, especially if he's writing it into existence just to prove himself, everything about Cars 2 was basically erased, right? There's no proof of Cars 2's. There's nothing about Cars 2 and Cars 3. So if he is manipulating timelines and doing it for his own sick way, you're going to write out things, of course. Because when you're writing in a new story, you're going to just throw out the old pages.
Was a Mater's Tall Tale. It follows the exact same formula.
That did not happen.
See you later.
Come on, none of this happened.
I'm Mater.
Yeah. And then when Lightning McQueen finds out he's there too, is when, like, he's like, oh, you're the bomb. He's like, I'm the bomb. And then, like, Lightning learns he has the bomb. And then he freaks out.
It's his girlfriend.
And it all happened just because Mater spoke it into existence. This theory literally makes the insanity of Cars 2 make more sense.
You mean like insurance rate? Like a good neighbor, Mater is there.
This dumb State Farm joke also makes so much more sense now because Mater has the exact same powers from those State Farm commercials.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
See? He can make things exist. But I think it is deeper than that. I think it's deeper than what Alex Bale is thinking. I think it goes all the way down to Mater is manipulating the timelines. Right? Hear me out. Mater could have saw our world. Mater could have saw everything that's going on with humans. And he didn't like it. So he started to make a world in his image, based off racers, whatever. And he observed for a while, and then he created Lightning McQueen. And he grown a fascination to it that he started to put himself in the story.
Hey, Dave.
With a sandwich. Oh, yeah. And the girl from 4E? And can I get a hot tub?
And think about it, right? Lightning was clearly losing to the French car. I'm forgetting his name, but he was clearly losing. So if Mater decided to manipulate the timeline to where Lightning would win via something like that instead of winning outright or just giving him power boost, you know, because you don't want him to just be better than everyone, because you want him to have those growth moments and to be able to figure it out by himself.
Well, don't you remember? You was there too?
What?
Mater is unironically the most powerful character in all of fiction. He could literally beat anyone in a fight just by uttering the words, "You was there."
Isn't that, from Bleach? Right, whose power was that, right? Captain Zero? I haven't watched Thousand Year Blood War because I promised I'd watch it for my brother, and I haven't seen him since the new seasons of Thousand Year Blood War came out. But, right, I can't wait to watch it. And wasn't there a squad captain in season 1? Because we did watch season 1. Wasn't there a squad captain that could do that? That could just say, "You are this thing," and then you are.
There too. And I believe that he has been secretly manipulating the events of this entire franchise for his own benefit. Now, I don't really have any strong evidence to prove this, but to me, the start of the first Cars movie also kind of feels like another Tall Tale.
Yeah. And think about it, right? When we always see, like, in media, where a powerful thing comes down and decides to help something because they like it. Like, basically, you saw that a lot in Supernatural. And I'm sure there's a lot of other examples. But that's kind of on my mind, right? Mater appears just kind of as a helpful buddy, steering McQueen in the right direction. And always just, like, messing with McQueen's life. Everyone else doesn't really interact with Mater. From what we see, right? Nobody else really has interactions with Mater. They're like, oh, Mater's here, Mater's there. But other than that, he's just kind of there. But in McQueen's life, he's prevalent.
Morning, Sleeping Beauty! Boy, I was wondering when you was gonna wake up.
Take whatever you want, just don't hurt me.
A famous race car just happens to accidentally get stuck in the same town as Mater, and they become best friends for life, and he decides to never leave because Mater is just so cool.
My best friend, when
Yeah, that is a bit strange. Like, the odds of that happening are very unlikely. And everything is a bit too neat in the Cars world, right? Lightning McQueen just shows up one day, figure basically some stuck-up race car. Then, after meeting Mater, he, like, starts to goof off and really become himself, because Mater was a big part into Lightning McQueen understanding himself. Mater might have created Lightning McQueen, hear me out, and then not like the direction he was going, so he decided to step in.
What are you gonna do?
That just kind of sounds like something.
Because even the Dinoco wish, instead of using Dinoco as his wish, Mater told him, oh, well, I always wanted to ride in a helicopter, knowing Dinoco had helicopters. So he's basically giving McQueen the free choice to be that old same stuck-up race car and go with Dinoco, or choose like the better life and choose like the more homely life and go back to Radiator Springs. And, oh, I have that favor to cash in with Dinoco, what am I going to do it for? Instead of something for myself, I'm going to give it to my buddy. And I think Mater did this all to manipulate McQueen into doing what he wanted, to be in his image. Because other cars we've seen definitely have free will.
Mater would make up.
I'm not saying Mater's definitely giving them free will, but I think he is found a liking to McQueen and decided to enter the story himself.
Manifest a cool, famous.
That's why he was a blue truck in the past, just like kind of passing by, writ himself into the flashback. But if he was that same blue truck, he can't play this stupid, dumb country persona. So he had to change himself into this rusted thing, this like rust bucket looking thing.
Friend.
I knowed I made a good choice.
And what?
My best friend.
Also, the way that lightning gets stuck in Radiator Springs requires so many insane, unlikely coincidences that all have to happen perfectly at the same time that it kind of feels like—
Exactly. Like a deity was manipulating it. All he had to do was just manipulate that one little thing. Because you know the butterfly effect where one reaction could cause like an earthquake from 1,000 yards away. And I think that's what he's doing. I don't think he's necessarily writing the whole story. I think he's manipulating it just to get McQueen to do what he wants.
like it was caused by some kind of divine intervention. Both Lightning and his transport truck Mac needed to fall asleep at this exact part of the intersection.
Yeah, and like I said, Mac would have definitely felt it. When you have a backpack on, or you're carrying something heavy, when some of the load gets taken off, then it's going to be lighter. You're going to notice immediately.
State, and also at the same time, these random hooligans needed to show up and decide to mess with Mac.
Yo, Wingo! Lane change, man!
And yeah, also, why are these hooligans messing with them? What would that do? Especially an official race truck, right? This is an official race truck of Lightning McQueen. You don't want that heat, right? You get the cops involved, maybe the feds even.
This Lightning McQueen toy needed to fall at the right time and land on this specific button that opens the back of the truck.
Yeah, and why is that button there? Do we have those questions, right? Why is it there? Where something could fall onto it. Why isn't it on the side? Or behind a panel? Because we saw panels in that. You know, like with his agent, right? So why isn't there something similar to that?
And also, this guy needed to sneeze at this exact moment to cause Lightning to fall out of the truck. And also, there needed to be a similar-looking red truck nearby to confuse Lightning into driving towards Radiator Springs.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's Mater just have some superpower that nobody can explain. I think Mater is the writer of this universe.
Mac! You're not Mac!
And also, this cop needed to be here, and his engine needed to be backfiring.
And they suddenly decided to pretty much illegally kidnap McQueen. When McQueen had a ton of money, mind you, he had sponsors. Rusty's sponsor might not be the best, but he definitely had some money from winning races. It is illegal to keep someone, especially for speeding. It's normally just a ticket fine, okay? And sure, like reckless endangerment, but that would need to be taken in court and not next day court.
Which caused Lightning to think that he was being shot at.
He's shooting at me! Why is he shooting at me?
Which caused him to drive uncontrollably into Radiator Springs and wreck the town.
Yeah, I did forget about this, in all fairness, property damage. But again, right, Lightning could write a check and have it all fixed. He didn't have to do it himself. That's very strange that Doc would decide. Remember, Doc hated race cars, and he just decided to make this race car do all the work.
Finally caused them to imprison Lightning in the town with Mater.
You was there too. What?
Every single one of those insane coincidences needed to happen at that exact moment for Lightning McQueen to meet Mater and become his best friend. Which honestly makes more sense if it was all somehow actually divine intervention from Mater.
I knowed I made a good choice.
And what?
My best friend. You was there too.
Now, how did Mater obtain this god power? I honestly do not know.
I really think he's the manufacturer. That's my true belief, right? Because coincidences don't just happen. And if you create a bunch of things, and then you create something you really like, especially if you're growing bored, you're going to decide to write yourself into the story, right? Like Chuck from Supernatural. I think there's something similar going on there.
know. And believe me, I have looked everywhere in every piece of Cars media for an explanation. I even read the fucking comic books, but unfortunately, there is nothing. Mater just has this ability to change reality for some unexplained reason, and he is using it to live his best life and go on fun adventures with his best friend.
I really think there's one that could be an interpretation, but I also do believe that it just isn't that simple, right? He doesn't just have some god power that he's a demigod, right? Because why would he? Why would he live a simple life, especially before McQueen, okay? Right? Because why would he start using that power? Why would he just randomly start using it? But maybe Mater wrote himself into the memories of everyone in Radiator Springs. Who's to say Radiator Springs is even real?
Lightning McQueen.
Because what are the odds some legendary race car that would be perfect to mentor some young sporadic kid that is a lot like that young hungry that old race car, but when he was younger, what are the odds he was there? What are the odds Doc Hudson just happened to be in this town? It's unlikely. So I think Mater made that town for McQueen. Why is Sally the perfect thing to keep Lightning McQueen on that grounded sense of reality? To not love himself so much. Because Sally represented the good times and to take a drive type of thing instead of just going at a million miles per hour. Everything there was for Lightning McQueen's character growth.
Mater, how'd you like to come and see the world with me?
You mean it?
And you know what? Good for him. We can even see in the Cars 2 credits that after the movie, they travel the weird car-shaped world together and visit all the great car wonders of the world. And of course, they climb the iconic weird car-shaped mountains of this weird franchise. And that is my Cars theory. So thank you very much for watching. Hang on a second. Is this world's Matterhorn shaped like Mater?
That's what I'm... Wait, what?
And
I don't like...
look, it's even been...
I don't like the creepy music, not gonna lie. But maybe bro's gonna say what I was saying the whole time, and I look incredibly stupid. Let's find out.
Renamed to be spelled like him. Wait a second. There is an all-powerful car god out there that has shaped and renamed the world into...
That's what I've been saying!
...his image. Wait, is Mater the reason why everything is cars? Is Mater just straight up God? So, in the Cars franchise, everything is cars, except... there is one contradiction to that shows up repeatedly in almost every piece of Cars media. The Dinoco logo.
Bro, I've never thought about that. He's right. The Dinoco logo. It isn't cars. It's an egg and a dinosaur. But I do believe that Mater definitely saw some sort of humans.
Dinoco is one of the racing brands that shows up all the time in this franchise, and their logo is a silhouette of a big dinosaur. But it's not the dino cars that we've seen in museums, it's clearly just a regular, non-car shaped dinosaur. It's a weird contradiction to the everything is car rule that pops up all over this franchise. Now, if there is some kind of car god that shaped the world into cars, why would he be so inconsistent with dinosaurs? It's a strange thing to leave out. It's almost like whoever created this world didn't know much about dinosaurs. Huh. Does that remind you of anyone?
I don't know much about these dino things. What happened to the dinosaurs now?
Bro's always asking about dinosaurs. Yeah, that is a bit creepy. But the problem with the dinosaur thing is, right? If he does it, how would dinosaurs be a thing, right? It's like, how would he know about dinosaurs if he created the world as cars? You know what I mean? Like, there is no other worlds, maybe.
I don't know much about
Unless he saw human reality, which is kind of my guess.
Well, dadgum, McQueen boy, I tell you what, I sure do like me some cars. Wouldn't it be fun if everything was cars? I don't know about that, Mater. That doesn't really make any sense. Well, shoot, you should know, McQueen. You was there too. What?
No, the Death Note music. This was a great video, by the way. The original link will be down below. Check it out. Yeah, that was like, bro. Whew, I gotta take a breath. That was a trip, not gonna lie. But that, I do believe Mater is like a car god, and he started writing himself into the story. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. I will see you next time, and please leave a suggestion on what you want me to see, talk about, or react to, or whatever. I'll see you next time. Bye!